As far as me being Lucky Jim is concerned, well, I don't know, really. I mean, he acts more bravely than I would dream of acting in some ways. I dress better than him, I think. Things like that. I'm not quite so keen on beer as he is. But
Yes.
in general...
What about London? Jim's described as being anti-London. Now, it has been said that Amis is now in the dibs.
Yeah.
Perhaps you'll see more of him in London, though it's a more sort of worldly Amis is now about to emerge. Not exactly a king of the nightclubs, but a well-known London figure.
No, I wouldn't like to do that. I mean, I've got a great affection for South Wales and Swansea as places, and the people who live in them, too. And there's a lot of very nice countryside around the corner. I don't myself dig...
Well, fair enough.
Hello,
Hello.
Mr. Kingsley, and how are you?
Hey, Mrs. Amy, it's very nice to see you, dear.
Good, lovely.
It's extraordinary
Come
back
in.
here.
Well, it's lovely to see you back in your old house again.
Well, it's nice to be here. Most extraordinary feeling.
Yes, I can imagine.
Oh, yes, I can remember the look of things.
Yes, I bet you see a lot of changes.
I'm sure
when
I
you go
will,
over
yeah.
the house, yes.
I hope so, yes.
Did you know that your son, Philip, put his name on the door?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Good
And for the last 10 years, I think I've been trying to get it off.
Cheeky
With
little
no
bugger,
success.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yes, I can, yeah.
Philip Amis?
Yes. Yes, well, this is as it was. I used to shave here every morning, looking out of the window at Mumble's Head. There we were. And, of course, as they used to say, the old gag was, if you can see Mumble's Head, it's because it's going to rain, and if you can't see it, it's because it's raining already.
Do you remember this room?
Yes, this part of the house was the children's domain, so I don't remember quite which was which. But I think this was Philip's room. And I think it's certainly in Philip's room that the late John Braine stayed when he came here. And he'd never tasted bourbon whiskey before, but he tasted an awful lot of it while he was here. And he stayed the night. He meant to go back to London the next day, that evening, rather. It was clearly impossible. So, and he took the prize by a narrow margin. The most thoroughly spoilt, interfered with, rendered uninhabitable bedroom I've ever seen in my own house or anyone else's. What a very nice chap.
What did he do?
Well, he drank a lot of bourbon and a lot of wine, and then some more bourbon. This bourbon's bloody good stuff, I remember him saying, shortly before he collapsed.
And then how did you come to buy this house and the other house?
Well, my wife got a legacy, not huge, but huge enough by our standards to buy the house down the road there, and which was this little study, was where I wrote Lucky Jim, and a small car. And then prosperity gradually mounted in a modest way until we could afford to move here, which was quite a grand place to be in those days.
So really that windfall, do you think...
Oh, yes, well, that's just it, you see. I mean, I would like to represent myself as a writer who forced his way up inch by inch, you know, grimly, contesting every foot of the way. But in fact, the previous year, when I hadn't got a room to myself, living in digs down in the Mumbles, my total output was one poem, and not a very good one, so I don't know when I'd have got down to Lucky Jim if I hadn't if I'd come into this money via my wife. So I was very lucky.
Anyway, it was Wales, all right, as Rhiannon Weaver reckoned she could have told by the look of it through the carriage window. There was no obvious giveaway, like road signs in 2 languages or closed-down factories. But something was there, an extra greenness in the grass, softness in the light. Something that was very like England, and yet not England at all. More a matter of feeling than seeing, but not just feeling. Something run down and sad, but simpler and freer than England all the same. They went outside and stood where a sign used to say taxi and now said taxi, taxi, for the benefit of Welsh people who'd never seen a letter X before. It was starting to get dark and the lights were coming on, reflected in the wet pavements. Some of what she saw was no different, or not much, but other things that she remembered well enough. From the old Mountjoy Arms Hotel with the green and tan frieze of classical figures, to that mock rustic shop where you could get very good doughnuts, had vanished so thoroughly that it was impossible to say whereabouts they'd stood. But the town was still the place where some of the special parts of her life had come and gone.
And, you know, if I'd lived on here, I'd have been one of the, what shall we say, Saxon kings of this part of Wales. And very agreeable it would have been, in a small way, you know. And I always loved coming back here.
How does a typical day go when you're staying here?
Well, getting up, which is the major part of an oldster's day, as I say in the old bells. Then going and working, and my host, Stuart, goes off to his office and solicits for an hour or two, whatever he does there. And by about midday or 12:15, he's coming, booting into his little drive there. What about going down the yacht club? Funny you should say that, I say. And off we go.
And then?
That means I've got, on a good day, half a page, or perhaps a little less, but still that's, if you keep it going, if you keep it coming, it will go on coming, with luck.
And what happens at the yacht club?
Well, what do you imagine? Not much yachting. Yakida! I left Swansea for good in 1961. In 1965, my first marriage ended in divorce, and I married my second ex-wife, Elizabeth Jane Howard. We ceased to live together in 1980, and this marriage, too, was subsequently dissolved. I've earned my living solely as a writer since 1963, and I've published 20 novels in the last 37 years. That's 33 books altogether.
The producer halted in front of the group and raised his arms above shoulder height, like Dracula. "Lovely," he said on a rising note. "Absolutely lovely." Whether they'll get it in Wigan is anybody's guess, but what do we care? Vigorous and forthright. There's a lot of trendy stuff going about why has every discussion got to turn into a disagreement? But to me, conflict is the essence of good television. Nice job, Ronnie. Oh, just a moment. He caught a passing technician by the upper arm and spoke in a fast monotone. "Fred, the next time anybody working for me gives me Mike shadow and is told about it, and then in his next shot gives me Mike shadow, he doesn't work for me anymore and he finds it very hard to work for anybody else, okay?" "I'm sorry about that," he went on instantly to the three, "but you've got to get that type of material off your chest while it's still fresh, or it may go sour, start to rankle. Anyway, who cares? It's only the telly after all." It's only the old telly.
What do you, looking back over the last 10 years from Lucky Jim, but involving the war, what do you regard as the most successful feature of its publication and its influence on society?
I should say its success in Czechoslovakia.
It's a good thing to have around some chaps who annoy people. I don't do it for that. That's only, as I say, a secondary motive. But what are you talking about, Mel, anyway? Come on, let's, what do you mean?
Well, the invention of the leftists, for example.
Invention?
Invention.
You are rather renowned for having a bash at things that are trendy or fashionable. And you are rather doing this in this book. Are you just having a gentle poke and a bit of a laugh, or do you genuinely have a real dislike of things like that?
Well, I think it's a very good thing to have a gentle poke, but these things like that are incidental, really, for me.
The Old Devils by Kingsley Amis.
And that's undoubtedly a very, very popular choice in this old library. Some people are already getting to their feet. Kingsley Amis himself is overwhelmed, and for the moment he's forgotten that he's going to go and collect the prize.
And asked what I'm going to spend it on. Well, booze, of course. And curtains. I mean, on the windows.
Do you ever find your television appearances embarrassing? there's that programme you did with Beryl Reid.